rent, that does not treat people well, and plans to take over, and plans to live by humiliation, subjugation, and bad oppression, that sucks the blood out of the life of the people they live in. Such malevolent presence tends to cause destruction, suppress activity, and sow the seed of fear. This is the tenant we are dealing with. Unwanted, not tolerable, not friendly, wicked presence that wants to destroy us. But we're very fortunate because Yoruba land is blessed with the right landlord. What is the landlord that Yoruba land has that can confront these menace that wants to destroy us? It is our people, it is our institutions, our culture, the values that have forged us into a civilization that has resisted across oceans, a civilization that is respected by the rest of the world, although some of us do our best to destroy it. May God forgive those who try to destroy Yoruba heritage and change them. Our sacred duty is therefore to preserve what is ours, employing wisdom, strategic action, unity of purpose. It is only through such concerted efforts that we can secure a future where peace, honor, and our culture will reign with integrity. Please allow me to remind us the kind of threat we face when we talk about insecurity again. Allow me a mix that we're sure, but it's good to point it out. I list it so that we can deal with each one. Kidnappings on our roads. The roads that we used to know for akara, pepper soup, dodo ikire, is now a place of fear. That needs to be reviewed. We need to understand what we're missing. Insecurity is what attacks the farmers that feed us. And as has been said before, the price of the food there skyrockets. We talk about the big insecurity of kidnapping, banditry, but we must also take into consideration petty crimes. Petty crimes of beggars that are becoming aggressive. Under the guise of begging, they're actually forcing. These are things that make mockery of our civilization. We used to pride ourselves as people who are not beggars. Ori mi ma jẹ ntọrọ jẹ, òun làdúrà náà. Àwọn ọmọ wa ń ṣe ojúmọ́ ló ń tọrọ jẹ. Ọlọ́run á bá wa bó ṣì mí o. We must understand that insecurity not only takes away what is material, but it diminishes our person, it diminishes our culture. When Yoruba people start to close their gates earlier than usual, when we start to reduce the time we focus on greeting each other because we have to run away, because we are not sure. When we go to gatherings and we have to make sure the person next to us, we look at our bag and our phone, then we're in big trouble. A big trouble that is not just the security of stealing, it is the extension of poverty and desperation that we must know that our leaders need to fight. There is a freedom that some of the people with great hair have enjoyed. To close at work at 5 p.m. in Lagos, to get in your car and drive all the way to Akure that night. There's a whole generation that does not dare that. Reckless as it sounds, it's a sign of freedom. Insecurity is curtailing that freedom. The idea that people who work in Ibadan, who have good school, but for tradition's sake, will decide to send their children to maybe St. Andrew or Christ School in Abiodun. The fact that people cannot even do something anymore, it is a sign that our life is being curtailed, and we have to look at seriously. These are cultural crises that forces our tradition and our values to be diminished. Besides taking our land, we need to look at it. I think it is for us to realize that when we talk about insecurity, it is not enough. This is very important. It is not enough for us to save ourselves by avoiding to go to unsafe places or using safe cars or closing up ourselves. That is not enough. Security is a collective issue that diminishes our being. It turns us to tenants in our land. It turns us to slaves where we ought to be kings. The issue of security brings forward paradox, an ironic truth that we need to examine. We hail from a people that can deal with things. We have a tradition, we have an institution, but something strange has happened. We have built a modern state, the states across Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, that has not taken into account where we were coming from. It has not built its future on our solid past. That is why there is this irony and paradox I was talking about. We hail from a people that have pioneered the system of checks and balance of the Oyomesi. Long before Locke wrote the theory of division of power, or Montesquieu conceived this idea. It was part of us to know that the rulers have to be accountable, and if they are not accountable, we can tell them to take their leave. And yet, we have built a nation that hasn't passed that. Therein lies part of our problem. Our communities of the past, they had hunters, and I greet the hunters here, and I thank the Abiodun for remembering the hunters and to be present here. Our communities of the past had night guards. They had market authorities that were more efficient than CCTV because they were alert and they were deployed. What has changed? We have built states that does not recognize these important things. We have created policing authority that does not understand the need and does not demonstrate the ability to create an harmonious blend between the past, the present, and the creation of a future. A future that knows what we have, that values it, and tries to deploy it into what we want. We're fully aware that the threats of security come from external sources, and they come from internal sources. I personally don't care where they come from. For me, anybody, I did not really spend my time on saying some enemies are from outside, from some enemies are outside. Because in reality, whether they're coming from far away or they're coming from close by, the fact remains that we must therefore look at our first self. We have to create a society in which those who are inside should understand that it is an abomination to be friendly with enemies of peace. They also understand that it is sacrilege to sell to buy from, to rent to those who can destroy us. If the outsiders that come to destroy us have a code that will not allow them to expose themselves, we should develop a code that anybody that tries to kill any one of us is an enemy of all of us. We have to start thinking along that way. I've been called here today to share some strategies about how we can combat banditry. So let us share some very practical thoughts. The first step, I believe, is for us to cultivate a very clear awareness. We must understand that we, our brethren outside Yoruba land, outside the states that we've been confined to, and all of us inside here, we are engaged in a conflict with ruthless, dehumanizing enemies who, regardless, I don't care about their identity, about their motive, whether it's spiritual, whether it's poverty, whether it's anything, it doesn't matter to me. We must understand that we are dealing with people who are ready to degrade our life, threaten our system, destroy our property, and turn us to slaves. Therefore, we must see the fight against insecurity as a war of liberation. We need to build our community intelligence system very quickly. Yoruba history, Yoruba security began from the street, not from one distant office. It began from neighborhood. Let communities organize properly, and from now on, let us consolidate and structure our vigilance network. Let our security start from our palaces, from our local government institution, from our community development association, our community development association. Let it now go to security agency because it starts from home. More than ever, does charity begin from home. And that home is the house of individual of us, one of us. Not that we close our gate and we leave the rest. We close our gate and we stay alert from the window, watching out that we all are guardians of our security, of our community. We must prioritize the localization of our system, ensuring that information flows very quickly, upward and downward. It was faster than before. After all, there's a saying that says that the one who knows the terrain will protect you better than the outsider. We must use that knowledge. We must insist that our government at the state level and at the federal level, we must insist that they empower community structures to operate. They must have the legal backing. They must effectively be in charge, not as a mere parallel, not as a parallel structure to the government forces, but they must be fundamental bedrock upon which the government forces is built, because they are the ones that are closer. It is time to ask ourselves about Amotekun. What do we want to do with Amotekun? My thinking is that we need to wake up and elevate Amotekun, not by mouth, but by praises, but by investing to take it to the prominence of professionalism. We need to expand it, we need to empower it. Amotekun was born out of necessity and the courage to respond. And at this point, I would like us really to a round of applause to remember the late Arakuri Oluratimi Akeredole. Amotekun so far has proven its value, but it must evolve. It is in a short time, but that's the way the history of the world is written now. You don't need 20 years to see a difference. It has done a lot. It is time for us to evolve it. We must evolve it by standardizing it. Training in intelligence, human rights, modern weaponry, seamless integration with police database. We must then develop for it comprehensive welfare and insurance. I sat with Irene the other time and he was telling me some of his processes. While he was talking to me with passion and vision, I was thinking of budgets and my heart was doing giggle. That this is all you need to do. We must think along that line to see how things work. You see, because a formidable tiger or leopard can only act if the terrain is conducive. No matter how strong the lion, the tiger, or leopard is, if the terrain is not conducive, there will be trouble. Let me also state very clearly here that I would like to advise our brethren to, and all of us, to start pushing now to the government of Kogi and Kwara State that it's time to get the model of Amotekun, not tomorrow. Practically, let them sit down after the summit. The statement we go out of this should be a recommendation that community security should be taken across everywhere we care about. Let us make it available to everybody, but let us insist on the areas of our own concern that it happens. We must support our brethren in those places when they start to advocate for things like this. We must provide training, we must provide partnership, we must provide support for them everywhere that they require it. We from Yoruba land must make it our duty to ensure that Nigeria decentralizes its policing. It is an old place, and it has been said, it is a very strange thing for us to expect Abuja to know where somebody is hiding in Oshogo. It is just, there's something illogical about it, and we need to bring light to that. Let us be clear, there is no question about it. Centralized police force cannot secure a diverse federation. It is just absolute planting tomatoes and expect corn to grow. It does not work. Our constitution framework must evolve. It must allow state policing, community policing, and I even talk about localized command, community command that knows the environment. Yes, it is a good time to clap. They are not clapping, tell them. We must insist while they're arguing. You see, this battle is a continuous battle. We spent years telling them about state policing. Now, many people are agreeing. Let us push the boundary. While they're doing state policing, let us start talking and local government policing. While we are talking about, let them not talk about community policing. That is the way forward. That is what we are known for. That is why Yoruba people are progressing. Because we push the boundary and we need to keep pushing it. Decentralization, let me be clear, is not about division. It is a strategic approach that enhances efficacy and efficiency. That is why we divide it. Fortunately, many of those who were initially opposed to decentralizing policing are now coming round. I call it the orange factor. Because those who are saying no before, all of a sudden, they are seeing that they must. It is important that we forge alliances with those who agree with what we are pushing. We must not hate or discard those who disagree with us. Some of them do so out of ignorance. Let us educate them. Some of them do so out of malice or mischievousness. Let us overcome them. I believe in engaging with people of good heart, and I believe in fighting with people with a bad mind. That is the way to approach this thing. We must know those who are confused, and we must know those who are bad, and we should deal with them accordingly. We must reevaluate our approach to security in the farmland, wherever that farmland is, because it is from that land that we get food. When I was a little boy, I was always around the kitchen, as you can see my side, because I knew that the first source of comfort is coming from the kitchen. So I always made sure the kitchen was clean and everything was fine. All the problems in the house, at a very tender age, I knew the kitchen was protected, because that is where food will come from. Now that we're grown up, it is time for us to develop that mentality and to know that our farmland is a crucial place for us. Because we therefore need to let government know that any governance that fails to protect the rural areas is a failed government. We need to make sure that our highways are not weakened, but they are places that are well covered. If government or governors fails on farmland, on highway, that government will fail in many other places. And even if they succeed in one place, how do you transport what you have succeeded in to another place if the roads are not safe? That itself is something that we need to look at. Practically, we need to establish dedicated highway security forces that are not there to check documents. When you see them, they are there to ensure that criminals cannot strike because they know they cannot get away with it. We need to utilize drones for our surveillance, and we need to let everybody know that